Welcome back. We're ready for show number 2. And this is my first human guinea pig this year. And you even have your own microphone.
I do, yes.
Okay. Do I know you?
No.
What is your name?
My name is Sarah.
Another Sarah.
Cher?
No, Sarah.
But I mean just a single name? There's no last name or anything? I mean,
It's Sarah Smith.
Sarah Smith. I really believe that. Okay.
I know, it's a nice generic name, right? Roll with anything.
Yeah, that's seen a few hotel registers. Very good. Sarah Smith. Okay, very good. Okay, we are going to do, this is a thing we're going to do before the B movies at the festival this year. We're going to do this thing called Name That Noir. Okay? And you're going to pick one of these envelopes. And in this envelope, there is three questions about a film noir. And we're going to see if you can name this. Now, the audience does not help Sarah out, okay?
That's not what you told me.
But only if she doesn't guess it by the third question. Then you become her lifeline.
So
And
you're probably going to
shout
need to
out
be
the
my lifeline.
answer, or you can shout out the wrong answer.
Don't be mean, please.
And then she has to figure out which of you is the cold-blooded liar, like Bridget O'Shaughnessy. All right, here we go. Are you ready?
No, but I'm up here, so let's go for it.
Because you're a good sport. Okay. Okay, here we go. Clue number 1, and you do have a prize. It's off stage. I forgot to bring it out with me. It's two DVDs or Blu-rays. One is The Underworld Story, which is a fantastic film, and the other is a brand new DVD of The Sea Wolf. Not film noir, but a fantastic film. So, okay, here you go. Clue number 1. The only film noir, don't check, with a theme song that became #1 on the hit parade. The only film noir with a theme song that became #1 on the hit parade.
No, I'm going to need
You need another clue. Okay. The villain is a glib, egomaniacal society columnist. Okay.
Actually, no.
I'm going to even cheat here and give you I'm going to tell you the year. 1944 is the year this movie came out. But the song was a hit in 1945. Because in the movie it didn't have lyrics.
Oh, that's not super fair. Okay.
But when it was a hit song, Johnny Mercer wrote lyrics for the tune, and it became a #1 hit on the hit parade. And clue number 3, the detective falls in love with a dead woman.
You've seen this?
Specifically, he falls in love with a picture of
Oh,
a
the
dead
dead
woman.
one.
I know, I'm going to disappoint everyone. This is why I want to come up here.
This is
You've seen it,
why
haven't
you're
you?
here at Noir City.
That's one of my favorite films.
Noir City. Okay. No clue?
No, I think I'm going to need some help. Say again? Laura?
They are shouting.
Oh, shit. You've got to watch that movie. I've seen it like 10 times.
Very
I love
kind
that
audience,
film.
too. I appreciate
But
that.
here's the deal. You win because you dressed the part. You look smashing tonight.
Yeah.
Temple Garden.
Oh, she was behind me in the rescue.
For humiliation here at Noir City. And make sure that she gets her prizes when she gets off.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sarah. You're fantastic. Wow, and I didn't notice until now. Look, are those your stockings or are those tattoos?
They're stopping.
They're stockings. Those are fabulous stockings. Nice seams. Everyone look at Sarah's legs as she walks up. Very nice. Okay, this is our first B film of the series. This is a relatively new find for me. I had never seen this film until last April. I showed it in Los Angeles. It kind of blew my mind. because this is our first wartime film. As you will see, there are things specific to this movie that have to do with living in America, especially on the West Coast in 1942. I mean, it's a lightweight version of what America was going through during the war. But this is the kind of movie that I love. When Hollywood made these films and they had B units, Fox had a really good B unit. A guy named John Francis Larkin is the writer and director of this film. He only directed 3 movies. He'd written a number of B films in his time. But honestly, this film is all about the lead actor, George Sanders, who is absolutely spectacular. If you know George Sanders, you know that he is the most debonair and kind of despicable character in movie history, maybe. He's a man whose best friend, Brian Ahern, wrote his biography after George Sanders' death, and it was called A Deplorable Man. was the title of his biography, just to give you some idea. And not to be a downer or anything, but George Sanders is, you know, he committed suicide at a fairly young age and left a suicide note saying, "I'm bored." I mean, basically, he checked out because he was just bored, and he said, I leave this sweet cesspool to the rest of you. I'm bored. Man, that's noir. But what he does in this movie is pretty amazing, because another great thing about B films is they sometimes snuck stuff past the production code, because these were just silly little B movies, right? I mean, there can't be anything too significant happening in these pictures. And then you see the character he plays in this movie, and it's like, is he really talking about what I think he's talking about in this film? This is really kinky. I mean, it's really weird. So this guy is deeply into sadomasochism in this movie, and it's like, yeah, this is 1942, and there's a war on, and this guy is totally kinky. As only George Sanders can play the part. And I do just quickly want to point out the presence of the femme fatale in this movie, Gail Patrick, who was sort of a second-tier actress. She had made some terrific pictures in the 1930s, but by the 1940s she was not getting the big roles. And this is only the first time in this festival that I'm going to point out the amazing contributions that women made to these films that have gone unrecognized. Because after Gail Patrick was done with her acting career, she actually became a producer and is the force behind the Perry Mason television series. Gail Patrick was the producer of the Perry Mason television series. Her husband was Earl Stanley Garner's agent, and she ended up being the producer of that TV series, which is one of the great TV shows of all time. And she's terrific in this movie. So just have a ball with this. Is there anybody in this audience that works in the library? Okay. You people are about to have the biggest wet dream you've ever had in a movie theater. Because this movie is like, if you're into the Dewey Decimal System, this movie will make your decimal Dewey. I'll tell you.